Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app out there. I'm your host, Rudo, joined as always by the amazing AJ Haefele. And with the Avs entirely off today, AJ's shaking his head about something.
No need for that intro. I'm just here.
Nah, he's amazing. Y'all know it. Everybody knows it. Today, with no Avalanche hockey to talk about, why not talk about some Avalanche hockey? We figured in the sense of prospects, because they're actually playing hockey out there. AJ and I were looking through before the show just to confirm, and it turns out, yep, every Avalanche player that is playing hockey just about is having a pretty good year. Avalanche prospect, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
So it's been good news on the young kid front for the most part. We'll get into some of the key features. AJ, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the pros? Do you want to start with NCAA?
Let's start with the AHL because there are guys there that normally wouldn't be, and
yeah, it's weird times to say the least.
There's
you good? Looks like your mic disconnected. So AJ's having some technical difficulties, but while he gets his mic sorted out, AHL is a place where some weird things are happening because of the COVID situation, because of leagues either canceling or postponing games. You have a lot of guys on AHL amateur tryout deals. It looks like you're back.
What was that?
Yeah, your mic just decided, nah.
I don't know that that's ever happened before. That was real weird.
Don't know what to tell you on that one, bud.
Yeah. Anyway, there's some guys that we forget are there because
they wouldn't normally be.
I mean, they're buried now, right?
Also, yeah, a lot of them are in this really weird situation where they're not playing every night in the AHL. I don't know. It's very strange outside of Shane Bowers, who is like done with the AHL, and we've had this conversation a million times. But
yeah, well, and Martin Kaut's hurt still.
Yeah, Kaut has an upper body injury. It's the Avalanche, so that's what we know. He has an upper body injury, and that's all we got. So
Foudy technically has a contract with the Eagles. Yeah. It's just a tryout contract.
Yep.
Which they only allowed this year because junior leagues were not playing. So a bunch of 18-year-olds got allowed to play in the AHL, but the teams didn't have to sign them to ELCs. So it was basically like a free pro look at a bunch of kids that the teams may have an interest in signing at some point. So we should just start there because the Avs had 3 of them.
They had more than 3. They had Jean-Luc Foudy, Luca Berzan, Sasha Mutala, and Trent Miner.
Oh, I forgot about Trent Miner. Goalies aren't people, so I forget about it. I forget that they exist. I'm sorry, Trent Miner, because he arguably is the most interesting of all of them.
And I mean, if we want to just start there,
yeah, let's.
In 5 AHL games, he puts up a .908, 283 goals against for a guy who was nowhere near a contract coming into this season, and then you throw in the COVID wrench. He's put up decent numbers in a pro league. As a guy that you have to consider all of a sudden.
It's been really weird because this was a guy, when he got drafted, I got more messages on draft night about Trent Miner than any of their other draft class.
Wow.
And that was the Byram Newhook draft. And I got more messages from people in the WHL who said, this guy's legit. This is a huge steal for you guys in the 7th round. He's coming on strong. We love this guy. I know 2 other teams wanted to bring him in as an undrafted guy. Yeah, and bring them to their camp to give him a look and maybe just give him, hey, you're ours.
Yep.
There was a lot of interest there is what I'm saying. And then he went out last year and he was not able to take that number 1 job.
Did not earn much of anything in Vancouver. And
he just, and to be honest, that whole team kind of just took a big step back.
in the first half of the season, especially underperformed massively.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought coming into this year, he was one of those guys. Like the Avs are giving out, they're going to give out a huge wave of ELCs is on the way.
Yep.
I should say a huge wave of ELCs should be on the way. But Minor was a guy like Minor. He is a CHL kid. They have to decide in 2 years.
Yeah, this is his last June 2021 is when his rights are up with the Avalanche.
Yeah,
so
they've got to decide, is this going to be it or now? And then with the COVID world canceling the WHL, this ended up being kind of a tough spot for Trent Minor where you're like, oh, he's really going to get screwed.
Yep. He's
played well for the Eagles.
Yeah.
To the point where you're like,
of anyone who's benefited the most from Pavel Francouz's injury, it might just be Trent Minor. Like,
yeah, well, Peyton Jones got an NHL deal.
That's true, but
but Trent Minor could absolutely be involved in that because this was almost like a make or break for him, right?
Yep.
Like, and there's no guarantee he still gets an ELC. But just showing up in small sample proving that he can handle the league is a huge victory for him. If he continues to play well and he has a good finish to the season, he puts his name into the ELC conversation, and boy, does that ever crowd their goaltending situation next year.
Yeah, all of a sudden you have Annunen, Werner, and Minor, and now Peyton Jones, I guess, as well.
Yeah, and I believe Hunter Miska signed a 2-year deal.
Yeah, so he'd be kicking around too. Yeah,
Hunter Miska's still under contract, and then Peyton Jones's ELC.
Is it a 1 year? It might be. Is he old enough? I forget.
Yeah, I thought he was 25. Yeah, it is a 1 year.
So that one would probably fall off then.
So that wouldn't, and Annunen would be, obviously you expect Annunen to come in and push to start.
For the Eagles, yeah.
But I mean, the combination of Miska, Werner, Annunen, and then if Trent Minor gets involved in this, now you have Trent Minor.
The one conversation here is the one position it's pretty okay to develop in the ECHL is goaltender. So,
yeah, I mean, Philip Grubauer was in the ECHL.
Yep. There's you'd probably expect Minor to be the Grizzlies starter at that point.
To be honest with you, it's not even rare for goaltenders to go into the ECHL and spend time there.
They usually don't spend a ton of time there, but you'll see guys go down there and play a season.
But it's point is that it's when we talk about guys getting demoted to the ECHL, it's like a death knell. But for goaltenders, it's just not true.
Yeah.
The only thing about Colorado's situation is that when they promote or when they put a guy in the ECHL, he has to go play on international ice.
Yeah, not helping the Annunens and Werners of the world adjust to North American play.
Yeah, and that's arguably the most important thing is for a goaltender. Like, I think it's a bigger factor for goaltenders than it is for skaters that they're out there. On
the angles are significantly different for a goaltender when it comes to that type of thing and positioning and getting yourself accustomed to.
Well, and think about how much space there is behind the net on international ice.
Yep.
And then in North American ice, you're just like, there's nothing. It's so crowded. You can fit 1.5 guys back there.
Yeah.
So that's just a. Not a concern, but I think it's an interesting situation. And then you have the other Eagles. You have the skaters.
Yep.
Your guy, Sasha.
Yeah, Mutala. They stole his point. I demand we riot on the AHL stat trackers.
So we just found out before the start of the show. We went back and looked, and they took away the assist that they had given him.
Yep.
And Rudo was upset.
They're out to get him. Down with the man. All right? No, but Mutala, I mean, there isn't a ton to say about Mutala and Berzan, really. They haven't looked particularly great. They haven't been given very much opportunity, which is fine. At least in I think Berzan is old enough that he can actually stay.
Yeah.
But Mutala is going to go back to his bubble in the WHL and get to play out the rest of the year.
Bigger concern for Berzan because he probably should have been pushing for the AHL already.
Yep.
With Mutala needed another year in the WHL. Like,
yeah, I don't disagree with that.
The biggest then, and I would say, and I don't think that it's necessarily his game that needed the other year. I think he just needed another year of physical.
It's his strength, 100%. The style of game he plays and has to play, he just needs to be stronger at the professional level. Period.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, no doubt about that. With Berzan, I don't know. He's in a weird spot with the organization. We've talked about it before. There's a deeper systemic question mark about drafting a guy like that and how you intend to utilize him. But instead of going down to that darkness, let's talk about the success story of the guys that got a chance to play in the AHL here in Jean-Luc Foudy.
This one, I think, was... Look, there's a lot happening in Avs prospect land this year. There's a lot happening.
Yep.
This is arguably the most action-packed
prospect year in a long
in terms of Avs prospects actually popping off, and guys that have had seasons that it's we got to talk about this. Jean-Luc Foudy's 8 games in the AHL so far have been very interesting.
Yep.
When he fell to the 3rd round, there were a lot of people, you
scrambling for that guy. Yeah.
Our guy Will Scouch.
Yep.
Swore by Jean-Luc Foudy.
As much as he hated the Justin Barron pick, he loved the Jean-Luc Foudy pick.
The Foudy pick. And it was interesting. He even tweeted about Foudy the other day, and there were people who follow the Spitfires and were like, imagine that, Foudy gets next to some actual talent and look what happens.
Pops off. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because what Foudy was doing what he's been doing for the Eagles, and I have not been able to catch all of the games. I'm about halfway through them. But
every other one is not even worth watching. So
and with the Avs playing every Friday and Saturday,
it's super hard to keep up. I know.
Yeah, they're I think last Saturday.
Yeah.
It was 4:00 in the morning, and I was watching an Eagles game, just trying to catch up from it.
Yep.
Anyway, Foudy has been fascinating because the playmaking has been there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his skating is world class, and everybody loves the skating, and that's always going to be the case. That is never ever going to change. So I don't ever feel like talking about it because it's just you expect him to be a great skater. Guess what? He is. The playmaking though that he showed at the junior level, which was one of his most intriguing characteristics on draft day. It's there.
Come through at the pro level too. Yeah.
It's already there. And you think this is a kid that was just drafted. This is an 18-year-old kid in the AHL. The only 18-year-olds that show up in the AHL are usually Europeans who have been playing pro hockey for a while.
Yep.
This is a dude making the jump from the OHL to the AHL immediately after a disappointing draft year, no less. And granted, 4 points in 8 games, and all 4 of those points came in 2 games. He had two assist games.
Two pop-off games for sure.
But watching him play, he's impacting the game regularly. This is not a guy that it's not like he's just disappearing. He had those 2 really good games and then 6-0 burgers. The guy has been an impact player, and it's really interesting because hey, he can't jump. He can't go anywhere for a little while. He's not going to be in pro hockey for a little while. But to see him succeed, I think this raises the profile a little bit.
And I just want to say for context, through the Eagles season so far, they have 1 game where they've scored 4 goals or more.
Yeah,
So it's not like this is a high octane offense he's getting dropped into or anything.
it's true.
Let's be honest, the majority of the Eagles scores this year are hanging around on the Avs taxi squad.
Yeah, they've been the Eagles have been hamstrung more than anybody by this thing.
Yeah,
because they lose. Well, their defense especially. Oh my god.
Yeah, that they're playing an ECHL defense and Greg Patterson. Like that, their defense is woof.
Greg Patterson has like half their goals this year.
Yeah, he's an elite defender in the AHL, man. He's it's popping crazy. Off. One other thing I did want to mention on Jean-Luc Foudy, he was one of the few people that really, truly went the extra mile to search out a way to play hockey this year.
Yeah.
Before the AHL, he went over to Sweden and decided to play in their third-tier pro league.
Yeah, a league I had never heard of.
So he found a way to play some hockey games this year, and it clearly looks like it's paying off, to say the least.
Yeah, and, you know, is the OHL coming back? I know there have been so many problems for the OHL this year.
I think they have like a tentative plan. I don't like. There's so many. The WHL has like 4 different bubbles they're doing. It's just so hard to keep track of everything that I don't know for sure.
Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I mean, I'll look it up. It's fine.
With Foudy though, you're wondering like how much more does the team want to see from him to give him the ELC?
Right.
You know, because giving ELCs to these mid-round guys has become more of a popular thing to do. You give it to them earlier, and then you pay out the bonus money right away.
And they're cheaper in the long run, yeah.
And then when they actually get to pro hockey, you don't have to pay any of the bonus money, and you save like $92,000 a year, which of course we don't care about, but. It's just become a more popular thing for clubs to do it. You know, like Philadelphia, for example, signed the Wisdom kid after drafting him in the 4th round. They gave him the ELC the next day.
Yeah, that was
crazy. And he's torn up the AHL this year where you're just like, what happened? But yeah, it's been, with Foudy, I think especially, it's been really interesting. Matala, I think I'm not worried at all about Matala. He just needs to get bigger and stronger. He needed another junior year.
Yep.
And that's not to say Foudy doesn't. He definitely also needs to continue to get bigger and stronger and grow into the body a little more. But the way that he plays the game, boy, is this
enticing.
Really encouraging.
Well, and not only that, what makes it so encouraging is look at the way the Avs play hockey, and it's so easy to see that guy just drop him in.
Well, and you talk about, okay, what's his timeline? You know, if Jonas Donskoy finishes out his contract in Colorado, you're like,
that deal is
there it is.
Yep.
You're like, okay, you're looking for a guy for him to replace. There it is, right there.
Yep. So
2 more years. Yeah, that gives Foudy a year in the AHL.
Yep.
And then, of course they'd actually have to play him, and like that's always the discussion, right? Okay, now this guy's gotten through the AHL and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, that's a bridge that you just can't really talk about until you cross it. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like the ultimate roadblock to any of this.
Yeah.
Like the entire point of having a prospect show is made irrelevant because the Avs are just like, nah, not going to play you.
I mean, look, I'll sit here and pound the table for Shane Bowers every single night, especially if McKinnon's going to miss games. But
so about that.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
I assume so as well, but
nothing official, but
word on the street.
Did a little poking around this morning, and I think he's going to be all right. I think we'll see him tomorrow.
Yeah, and no surprise that he didn't come back last game or anything.
There was no need.
Yeah. So That's good. We can take our first period break there and let you guys know about DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app out there. Still time to get in on the $1 to win $100 bet on anyone in the main fight of UFC 259 to land one punch, one bonk on his opponent, and you get $100. That easy. Go on over to DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up with code DNVR. This is for new accounts only, so be sure to jump on it while you still can. They also have amazing odds boosts for all sorts of other awesome sports betting, whether it be basketball, baseball, football. You want to bet on Australian cricket? Go nuts. You can do it with DraftKings Sportsbook. They've got you covered.
Aren't there like two types of cricket?
Yeah, well, there's like the one that I can actually watch, where it's like a one-day match.
Yeah, well, and then the other one that go on for like
weeks.
Like
it's a week-long game, and you're like, what the hell is this? Like,
I don't know. I tried to get into cricket one off season, and in our secret Discord, we had somebody that was trying to help us out, and I tried, and I was watching it, and I was like, I'm starting to get it, and then it all fell apart. I took like 2 days off, and I came back, and I was like, I don't understand any of these rules anymore.
I grew up a baseball fan, so baseball's objectively better in every single way. I'm sorry, cricket fans.
It was just like I'm so conditioned to the idea of like a foul ball, and then in cricket, like the dude just hits it anywhere, and
you hit it backwards, and it's like, that's fine, go get it. Yeah,
people everywhere, and like there are fielders all over and I'm like, oh my god,
like
what is the scoreboard?
When an outfielder makes any catch, it's like an instant ultra highlight. Yeah.
You're like, is that your job? I don't know, man. I just between cricket and curling, I'm really excited for the off season for us to do some video content of DNVR learns.
Dude, we legitimately need to have a DNVR curling league. Like I am all in on this.
Oh, I don't know about a league, but we're definitely going to take a group of us and go learn to curl.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
That's happening. Oh, that is 1,000%.
I can't even imagine what the money line is at DraftKings with the DNVR curling gang. But again, head on over there. Use code DNVR, when you sign up to get your mad $1 for $100 deal. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only, new customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by that DraftKings Sportsbook. Do anything else we want to touch on in the AHL here, AJ?
Shane Bowers rocks. Nick Henry's at least getting to play.
He is not scratched. He's got that going for him. That's about the end of that list. But
yeah, that's been a bummer though.
It's been disappointing and frustrating to say the least.
Yeah, and like some of it is like,
well,
the line that you draw where you're like, how much has the organization done to really help him? And
the thing is, like, they sent him to the AHL this year for 2 games, and he scored 5 points in 2 games with 4 goals. And it's like, clearly this dude is good enough to be in the AHL at least.
Yeah, you mean the ECHL, but yes. You said they sent him to the AHL.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they sent him to the Utah Grizzlies for 2 games, and he murked, and it was like, okay.
He treated the ECHL exactly as you would expect him to.
Yep.
To be honest, a similar way that Ty Lewis has acted every time he goes down to the ECHL too, where he's just like,
this is below me.
Yeah. Where you're like, dude, this guy's too good for this league. Come on.
Yep.
So, anyway.
Is what it is.
Yeah, look, me personally, I can't have this conversation every single day anymore.
Agreed. I've had it too many times already in the past year and a half.
I'm going on like 10 years of this.
Yeah, this is year 5 for me.
Yeah, I cannot do this thing anymore. Not every day.
Anyway, let's move on to the junior and or non-professional prospects.
Yeah.
Should we start with the NCAA? Do you want to start with the BC boys, or do you want to start with the breakout kid?
Let's stay away from BC for now.
Okay, so Sampo Ranta then?
Just because that's such a big conversation.
Yeah.
Let's start with we'll do the quick one. They've got 3 guys at Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame, and other than your sneaky suspicion that Nate Klerman might get an ELC, what's really coming out of Notre Dame right now?
Dude, Nick Lieberman is legitimately doing the thing that we always wondered if he would do.
They were like, all right, this is the one offensive defenseman that Notre Dame is allowed to have. They put him in that role, and wouldn't you know it, things started to click for him.
Yeah, and with Lieberman, I will never forget talking to a member of the Avalanche scouting staff when Nick Lieberman got drafted. And he said, Nick Lieberman is a great skater. And also the way that they discovered Nick Lieberman is their area scout. I believe it's John Funk. Their area scout for Minnesota was there to watch Middlestat.
Yep.
And Lieberman was playing against him, and he was like,
this dude can fly.
Who is this kid? Literally got drafted because he was a great skater in the 7th round. And they were going to Notre Dame, which they obviously have a history with. And as much as they try and tell me that that's just a coincidence, I don't believe them for 1 second. I think that there's a familiarity when guys are going to certain programs that teams are comfortable with.
Yep.
And have relationships with. I think that helps them.
It doesn't take a genius to see they've had 4 guys at Notre Dame, and now they have 3 dudes going to BC.
Right. Well, and then they had a couple guys at BU a few years ago.
Yep.
They had all the guys in Rowena Ronda at the same time. Like they're, I think that they're just. I'm not sold that that's a coincidence. Is what I'm saying. But I think with Lieberman, they told me he's a great skater. If he can learn to play hockey in the next 4 years, we may have a hit on our hands. He's got to learn to play offense. He's got to learn to play defense. He's going to a great school to learn to play defense. And it's been a slow burn for Nicky Lieberman.
Yep.
2 points in 23 games his first year.
Was borderline a red shirt his first year.
And that was a year where they had 8 guys on scholarship that they were rotating in regularly, and it was like 5 or 6 of those guys were draft picks.
Yep.
Including Lieberman and Klerman. Yep. So they were constantly rotating them in, right? And then Lieberman really got in there last year as a regular, and 12 points in 32 games, a step forward. Like, hey,
It took him about half of his sophomore year to really find his feet, and then the production started to come a little bit.
And then this year happened where they were like, all right, Klerman and Lieberman are upperclassmen. Klerman's captain.
They took the saddle off of Lieberman, basically.
Yeah, and you look at it, he's got 16 points in 26 games, and for a program that is struggling to score.
I don't want to put down anyone too much, but that team is nowhere near what it was 3 years ago. That team is not a competitive NCAA team night in and night out.
Nowhere near as good as it was when they first drafted Cam Morrison, and we were all very excited because he scored a couple of big goals in his freshman year.
Yep. Not the same at all.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, Lieberman is 4th on that team in scoring.
Yep. There were a couple weeks ago he was 2nd. Like, that team is just not scoring goals, and it's interesting because that doesn't really affect Klerman that much, right? Because it's just not his role in the team anyway. He's the defensive D-man captain of that hockey team. So
yeah,
he's puttering along at a pretty standard clip. Have either of these guys earned ELCs yet? I don't know.
And they're both juniors.
Right. They have another year, to be clear. Yeah.
And I think this is the biggest thing that helps them. They both have another year. And it gives the Avs a chance to stagger some of their ELCs, some of their incoming contracts, because that gives them another year to, I don't want to say cut loose dead weight, because that's not really what I mean.
Free up contract space. How about that?
But yeah, like you look at some of their contracts where you're like, look, Josh Dickinson, Travis Barron, Ty Lewis, these guys, all their ELCs end this year.
Yep.
Nick Henry, his ELC ends next year. Like, they're gonna have some extra contract space.
And over the next 2 years, they're realistically looking at signing 8+ guys, potentially.
Yeah.
So there's a lot coming.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent on the way, and to be honest, very little of it we've been looking at as defensive talent. It's been all Drew Hellison and Justin Barron, and now all of us. And whenever Danila Zhiravalov decides he wants to come over from Russia,
that's a wild card. So totally, yeah.
You just don't really know. P.S. having a really good year in the KHL.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, all of a sudden, this defense is starting to actually shape up with some prospects again. The Tibbins and Byram and all these, Makar, all these guys graduating and moving on to the NHL, and you're just like, okay, well, I'm kind of cleaning out the cupboard here, and now it's about the next wave. Who's going to help? Who's on the way to the Eagles? Because I don't see any jump straight to the NHL.
Me either. And I do want to continue this conversation, particularly about the defense. After this break, we do have to tell you guys about Chevalier Mortgage. Both Mike and Virginia have been in the business for a very long time, and they bring more than your average mortgage company, because Mike is a certified even financial planner who can take care of all of your financial needs, take a look at your entire picture to make sure you find the right home loan for you. So be sure to check them out today at dnvrmortgage.com. You can get signed up for a free consultation, as well as an opportunity to win yourself some free DNVR merch. Highly recommend it. These two have been doing it for a long time. They're local and family owned, just like us here at DNVR. So you know how it goes. Supporting our partners is supporting us. Again, be sure to check them out at dnvrmortgage.com, or you can call Virginia directly at 303-257-6578. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Rudo and AJ here. Do we want to get into the Justin Barron, the Drew Hellison conversation here?
We still have a long way to go. We have a lot of prospects to talk about.
I know. This third period is going to be long. Trust me.
We haven't even talked about Ryder Ralston.
Yeah.
Okay, we just did.
Yeah, that's the conversation. Is that he has 4 assists in 25 games. Oh, he got his 5th?
Yeah, he has 5 now.
5 assists in 25 games, I think it is, and 0 goals.
No, you're right. It's 4.
Yeah, you're trying to give him Mutala's assist. I see how it is. All right.
That's right.
Get out of here with that.
That's funny.
So Ralston not having a great transition immediately to the NCAA. Yeah. Now that's the dude was going to spend at minimum 3 years there anyway. So you're not slapping the panic button or anything.
Yeah, I'm not worrying at all about Ryder Ralston not scoring in his freshman year on a bad Notre Dame team that can't score.
Yep, for sure. Jacob Hill asks, any prospects you guys don't expect to get signed?
Well, it kind of depends on the year that you're talking about. Yeah. This year, they only have 4 decisions that they have to make.
Yep.
Trent Miner, Sasha Mutala, Luka Burzan, and Alex Beaucage. Of those 4, 2 of them are hard yeses. They should absolutely get contracts, no questions asked.
Beaucage and Mutala are no doubters. Yeah.
Yep. Beaucage and Mutala should 100% get ELCs. No doubt. Miner, we talked about Miner already. Burzan, I think probably no.
Yeah, Burzan on the outside looking in, maybe they do something like they did with Sajin, where he gets an AHL deal or something. But
yeah, I think that would be a wise approach for them. They honestly need to worry about contract numbers a little bit here, because I think there are so many guys that they're going to give deals to.
Yep, we'll get into some of the guys that aren't up this year and whether they deserve a contract now a little bit more in a minute. We talked about Notre Dame for the most part at this point. Do you want to go to the Q next? Do you want to stay in the NCAA? AJ, who's next on your list?
Yeah, let's just talk. Let's do BC.
Okay, we'll go to the BC boys. Let's start with Colby Ambrosio. We'll get him out of the way because he's, at least in the immediate, the least interesting of the three.
Funny because he's been a huge breakout for the system.
Been a super successful guy for a 4th-round pick in his first year. But
yeah, Kamenev does not still count as a prospect, no. They own his rights, but even then, he's graduated. He's played too many games.
He'll go live in the Dennis Parshin forever at Av, but never going to play in the NHL universe.
He only has to get until his 27th birthday.
Oh, did they not QO him? Is that what happened?
Well, they did. So, I mean, they QO'd him this year, whatever they decide to do at the end of this year. I have no idea,
well,
but
yeah, whatever.
Anyway, but when Kamenev's 27, he'll be a free agent.
Sure.
He can do exactly what Mikhail Grigorenko did.
If he so desires.
Yeah. Although they didn't QO Grigorenko, so they didn't retain his rights. He could do whatever he wanted. Yep. Anyway, point is, not a prospect.
Yep.
Colby Ambrosio, but big breakout. Really, I was really down on that pick, and I'm a moron. So
see, this was my pick. I like this one.
Yeah, I was super into the 2 picks around him. So
admittedly, I liked him more than Foudy, and Foudy has been a slam dunk. So
yeah, well,
you can't win them all.
I mean, Ambrosio as a freshman, 14 points in 20 games on a really, really good team. Has actually gotten a chance to play up in their lineup because
so much time Newhook. Yep.
So it ended up being like a weird benefit to him, and the game has kind of come and gone. The production has kind of come and gone.
Inconsistent, the impact, for sure.
But you remember, this is a freshman. This is a mid-round pick. More and more, I wonder. It's obviously big, but when you take a guy like this, you're hoping that you have the next Johnny Gaudreau on your hands.
Yep.
And it's obviously too early to be like, that's where they're headed.
Yeah.
Oh, he's just going to be a guy who puts up 99 points in the NHL. No, I'm a little premature to go that far.
You're trying to get a top 6 guy out of him, right?
But yeah, you're looking at him right now and you're like, boy, this is really intriguing. Knowing that you're probably looking at 2 more years of him in college.
At absolute minimum, 1 more.
Easily.
There's no way they sign him now because, I mean, that would be just stupid on so many levels. Anyway.
Yeah, no need.
Yeah.
So we forgot Sampo Ranta. His name is in the title of the show.
We'll get there.
We're getting there. Again, the Avs have maybe never had a prospect season quite like this.
There's a reason we're saving him for last. Let's put it that way.
With Ambrosio, though, just such an encouraging start.
Yep.
Is he a center? Is he a wing? I think he's going to end up a wing.
It's tough to play center when you're that small at the pro level. It's just hard. But
he is an annoying guy on the ice. Like watching, I didn't get to watch a ton of his USHL games. I ended up going back and watching a handful of them.
Yep.
But I've watched a fair amount of the BC games, and he causes problems.
Yep. He has enough finishing ability. That's what's exciting to me. Is he's not he's different than Jean-Luc Foudy in that regard.
Very different. I mean, you can absolutely picture a world where those guys are next to each other.
Yep. Foudy feeding him, and the midget line is just scoring on people. Yeah,
exactly. Where Foudy is the center of that line, and Ambrosio's on that wing, and you've got your playmaker and you've got your goal scorer right there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not hard to envision that one. That's for sure. Ambrosio, his skating is good enough that Foudy, he won't be. It's not like he's gonna get dusted by Foudy. But he's also, he's a pest on the ice. Like I love that he loves to get under the skin of other players. Like he's got that little extra, he's got that little small man thing going on where he just wants to get up in their face. And he's not he's not like a super physical player, but
I mean, he can't be with his size, but
right.
yeah.
But he is not. He doesn't play the game with fear.
Yeah,
and I think it's an incredibly important thing for guys who are on the small side. They have to play up, and he does that.
He's Joey Hishin before the concussion.
Yeah,
I hate to bring it up like that, but
when Ambrosio's his ability all around the game on the ice is
it's for real.
He's very, very intriguing as a fourth round guy. You're like, oh my gosh.
So let's move in.
The Avs were so excited about him, and I was like, okay, but
all right, you take all the third round picks. I'll take all the fourth round picks for the Avs, and we got something here.
It's true, man. We've talked though in the last couple of years, the third round has been for the Avs is like it's where the meat of their system is coming from right now. Like this next wave of guys, like all these dudes.
Beaucage, we'll get to Ranta.
Yeah, Beaucage, Ranta, Foudy, Ananen
too. Yeah,
Sampo, obviously. It's just anyway.
Yeah,
Ambrosio's been dope.
He's been dope. Moving on, let's do Alex Newhook first because Alex Newhook could just sit the rest of the season and he's getting an ELC, right? Like
he should get an ELC immediately. Yeah.
If
the thing is, so Alex Newhook's already 20.
Yep.
So his ELC, if it starts this year, they burn a year off no matter what. They should not do that.
Agreed.
From their perspective, they should not do that. If that's what it takes to get him to sign this year, then that's what it takes. But they should not do that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them doing it if that's what you got to do. But when you have to pay Alex Newhook and Nathan McKinnon in the same year, things might get interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you say about the one upside of getting Newhook to his second contract faster. Okay, say he signs his ELC, it's for this year. He burns the year off. He doesn't make any NHL contributions. He goes and plays for the Eagles or whatever. That was just how they got him to sign. Okay,
sure.
Next year, he doesn't start the team. Doesn't necessarily start the season with the NHL team. The one like upside is that you get him to his second contract before he blows up.
Before he's established himself as a beast of a 2C,
right.
Basically.
Like before he gets to the Makar, the Makar thing. So that's where you say if you get him to that second contract faster, maybe you can get him on a 2 or 3 year deal in that point. Go with the classic, the old school bridge construct where it's a 3-year deal for like $4 million or something, right? Yeah. And then he turns into a $9 million player in the meantime, and you're like,
go win 2 cups with that dude, and then whatever happens. Yeah,
exactly. Like what? And then you go from there. That's the one upside of maybe you try and like you're like, can we burn 2 years off this ELC actually?
Get to that bridge ASAP.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe that's the goal because instead of trying to preserve all 3 years of $900K or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be the upside if that's the way that they were going to do it. Obviously, you would take the 3 years of $925K.
Yeah, for sure. Cygnus, your new job better be standing in line and killing ads tonight. That's all I'm saying. But congratulations, my dude.
If you don't figure out how to stand in some goddamn lines and kill some ads, we are going to have a conversation tonight, sir.
So the Newhook conversation is let's see what he does in pro at this point.
Yep. ATO him, let him go play with the Eagles.
Yep.
I think that's the smartest thing for everybody involved. You can even sign him to the ELC, just as long as the ELC doesn't start until next season.
Now, the next conversation is Drew Hellison. And I brought this up a month ago, and everyone I talked to was pretty adverse to it. But all of a sudden, still wouldn't do it?
Nope.
Still wouldn't sign Drew Hellison at the end of
Nope.
this year?
I would not do it.
Okay. Nonetheless, Drew Hellison breaking out. Look, he's never going to be a guy that puts up crazy offensive numbers, but he has been effective in the offensive zone this year to the point where it's not the concern that it was after his freshman year.
When that dude
straight
went
walk
to,
the dude,
when that dude went to WJC's and scored that fluky ass goal for his first point at WJC's, and it was like
off of his body, and then his second one is from the corner.
Yeah, well, you remember because the first goal was off of his skate, and he was like 15 feet out, and you were like,
what the hell?
And then he had the second goal was the one where he threw it at the net from the corner, and it found its way in, and you're like, WJC goalies, baby. It was hilarious, right? And then he goes back to BC, and he just won't stop producing offense.
Yep.
Like,
not just he put a dude on a poster. Like
the 3-on-3 overtime goal where he was just like, girl, bye, was awesome. But for him to go 14 points in 18 games, the biggest change of how he's producing those points is that he's jumping into the play and he's reading the ice, and the offensive instincts are all of a sudden all over the place.
Yep.
They're everywhere, man. And it's not like he has a lethal shot. It's not like, you know, he's super deadly. It's just that he's jumping into open ice and he's converting chances. He's finding guys that are open.
Yep.
He's creating scoring opportunities that a year ago, look, he just wasn't doing it. He would get into the offensive zone, he would put his stick down, he would stand at the blue line, and he would wait to leave.
If he got the puck in the offensive zone, you were expecting right back to his D partner or he'd rim it. And that was about it. Like
that was it. And then it was like, okay, is it time for me to go hit somebody defensively yet? Okay. But the things, the attributes about him that were so intriguing, you know, the combination of his size and his skating.
Yep.
He has made both of them assets on offense this year.
Agreed.
And that is exactly the kind of growth in an overall game that you're looking for from a prospect, to just start adding stuff to their profile. Look, defensively, he's still good. He's still solid. He's still mean. He still hits people. He's still a good skater. He's still 6'3", and he's still right-handed. All of that stuff is still there. He's just adding to it. And this is what has turned him from, we'll see, you know, was this another trap where the Avs fell into it with a defenseman prospect where they love these old school guys. They just had Josh Anderson that's not working out.
Or
is this guy, you know, are you just as excited about this guy as you are about Justin Barron? Because he thoroughly outplayed Justin Barron at WJC.
It wasn't close. It was not close. Drew Hellison was a monster for Team USA at WJC.
Yeah. And Drew Hellison turns 20 in 3 weeks.
Yep. Still a youngster.
So you know, I still think I'm worried about having all these ELCs at one time. So I'm thinking one more year.
Stagger that one because they're going to sign Barron.
And then just and one more year at BC, like there's nothing wrong. Let him continue to flourish offensively. Just because he took a big step forward this year, it doesn't mean he's done. You know, let him have another year in college hockey. Go and do it again. You know, I expect there will be plenty of BC turnover at BC with graduations, Newhook, Boldy, et cetera, a handful of guys should be leaving.
Yep.
I want to see what happens when he doesn't have quite the same level of talent.
Is he a little bit more of the man there?
Yeah.
At least on the defense, yeah.
I want to see what it looks like. Let him really take over and be like the guy on that team for a year. And then, you know, you're not just developing hockey players, you're developing people, and giving him a chance in a leadership role is one of those things that maybe that comes back around someday to be a really big feather in his cap.
For sure. Christopher, you never run out of good D if you keep drafting good D. All right. That's all I'm saying.
I really thought that you never run out of good D was going to turn into a Manscaped segue.
Manscaped is not on the reads today. Yeah,
I really thought that's where we were headed. I'm so on guard for it now.
Well, we're saving up all that energy for Saturday. All right. So
there's going to be so many bonks on Saturday.
Mega bonks on Saturday for sure. AJ, do you want to go to Baron next? Do you want to go to
we can do the Q, guys.
All right, because I'm going to abandon you for 35 seconds because someone just knocked on my front door. So
great, let's talk Q.
Cool. Have fun talking Q for a little bit.
So look, Alex Beaucage had a white hot start to the year and then got himself traded. When you end up on a bad team in the queue and you're in what's likely your final junior season, you get moved to a team that has higher aspirations. And so he ended up in Victoriaville. The goal scoring, he's only got the 1 through 5 games. It's a start, but he's got 4 assists. So a point per game player continuing to do his thing. Look, we've said it a bunch in the past on really in the last year. Every time we talk about Alex Beaucage, the takeaway is always the same. He doesn't need to do anything in the queue anymore. He just doesn't. He does not need to do anything in the queue. He's proven he can score goals on their goalies. He's proven that the time and space defensively doesn't exist. There's nothing left for Sampo Ranta Sampo Ranta. I'm reading chat. There's nothing left for Alex Beaucage to do in the queue. It's whenever his junior season finishes, he's done. You just move him on up to the AHL, and then you see has his skating improved, because he's got a great shot, and it's an array of shots. All the wrist, the slap, and the backhand are all good, and that's the guy. The guy can score goals for you. That's what he does, and that's the selling point. That's what makes you love him so much, and all he has to do is just move into the AHL and figure it out.
Yep.
Like we talk about how Jean-Luc Foudy is going to be dishing pucks to Colby Ambrosio. Well, the guy on the other side could just as easily be Alex Beaucage. Now, he might have trouble keeping up with Foudy, but once they get into the offensive zone together, they have a chance to make some real magic together.
I mean, a shot like that, you go a little bit Ginlist Ovechkin style, just turret him up at the top of the circle and let him go.
Yeah. Well, and then your problem there is that if you were to theoretically here, you have Ambrosio on the other side.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the guy you want standing in front.
Yeah. But it's a work in progress. All right. This line comes.
He's a competitive little guy, though. He wouldn't shy away from that job at all. But the other, Justin Barron, look, the guy, he had a really mediocre WJCs as like a third pairing player.
Yep.
His underlying numbers at WJCs weren't good.
They trended the wrong way as the tournament went on too.
Yeah, he was Colorado's worst prospect at WJCs this year. And to be honest with you, he didn't have a bad WJCs. It was just okay.
Yep. It was an okay WJCs on a team full of dudes going off.
And you consider also that he was limited role. And he hadn't played. He with the injuries and stuff that he just had not played a whole lot.
He had 7 games under his belt, I think, when he went to the camp. So
yeah,
not much hockey there. Yeah,
yeah, and like granted, this last year there were a lot of guys who hadn't played in a long time.
That's true.
But he lost a lot of development time in his draft year because of injury issues with the blood clots. That's all good and well. That's fixed. That's behind him. And look at him. Like,
16 points in 19 games, is it?
He's doing exactly what he needs to be doing.
Yep. The offense has been consistent. I think that's a big key for him as well. He's a little bit weird. Like when I watch him play hockey, I really like his reads. I really like his intelligence. I really like what he's physically capable of.
Mm-hmm.
He's weird with the puck. He gives me weird vibes with the puck. He's one of those guys where the puck just seems to roll off his stick a little bit too easily.
I do think that there's a lot of room. There's a lot of room there.
Yeah,
for him to grow.
For sure.
And the big thing, he can go to the AHL immediately after this year, and I think he should
definitely.
But just because he gets there earlier doesn't mean he'll leave earlier. I think he needs to be there for a while. He really needs to bulk up.
Yep.
He's got a great frame.
Fill it out. Yeah.
Yeah. He needs to, like Drew Hellison, when he gets filled out, he's gonna be like a big bulky, mean son of a bitch.
That's the dude you hate going into the corner against.
Yeah. But with Barron, like he needs to be able to bulk up, if only because of the way that he moves the puck. He has to
be able to carry it himself at times.
Yeah. Well, and he needs to be able to fend guys off. He needs to be stronger on the puck itself.
Agreed.
David says that he reminds him of Connor Timmins.
Significantly better skater.
We've made the comparison with that addendum. They're similar style of players, but Barron is a much better skater.
Yep.
If Connor Timmins could have Justin Barron's feet, he would be. Well, Colorado's defense would be in a real different spot.
Yeah. So just keeping tabs here. Beaucage, Mutala, ELC's expected. Throw Barron on that list as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another year of Barron in junior, like it's not. To be honest, it would feel like a missed opportunity because the Eagles defense is so.
There's literally zero prospects on it right now.
But it's Barron. And
bonk.
But it's I didn't go down that road intending to say that. It's just where I ended up. But it would be a missed opportunity because of that. But if they wanted to give him another year, it's okay.
From the standpoint of what is the best path for his development, I think the AHL is better.
You and I agree there that when a guy is physically ready to go,
get him in there. Yeah,
he should go to the AHL, and that it doesn't bother me that 20-year-olds are flooding the AHL. It's a developmental league, and finally, it's being treated as such. The 27 and 28-year-old guys all over and over, like all of those guys are not. They're team leaders now, no longer
There's no substitute to playing against men. They're just
and the AHL is just better.
Yep, arguably the second best league in the world.
Yeah, you take the Q, you take the best team from the Q, the best team from the CHL, and you throw them against the best team from the AHL in a 7-game series, and I don't think it's going to go very well for them, for the kids.
Yeah, me either.
So the AHL is just a step up. It's faster. It's one step from the NHL. It's faster. It's bigger. It's stronger. It's better. The players are better. It's why you see guys like Ty Lewis have 100-point seasons in the WHL and show up into the AHL, and it's like, oh, this is a struggle for this guy.
Yeah, it's definitely better than juniors. There's no argument against it.
There is something to be said for letting a guy absolutely shithouse the juniors, though.
What does a player need? Does a player need the competition? Does a player need confidence? Does a player need skill level? Do they need more structure? Development is hard, guys. There's so many things that go into this conversation.
It's different for every single player, and it's not a straight line.
Yep.
It's a combination of player characteristics, environment that they're in, organization that they're in, fit in the organization style. What are they good at? What is the organization good at? Like, the Avs are not good at developing defensive defensemen. So even though Drew Helleson looks great right now, do you have any faith whatsoever that Drew Helleson becomes a quality NHL player in 4 years? Me personally, it's not a whole lot of faith.
You can't
The Avs
confidently
haven't
say
earned
yes
that.
to that. You can say you like him as a prospect, but you can't confidently say yes to anyone in the Avs system becoming an NHL player except for maybe Newhook right now.
Yeah.
So that's just part and parcel with development.
I mean, physical. So, do you think the AHL is better for physical growth over the CHL? I mean, it just depends. Where is it? Where is a guy like a guy for, like a guy like Beaucage? He's a big guy already. He's got good size. It's one of the things I liked about him.
Even what is physical growth? Is physical growth the guy needs to play more physical on the ice? The guy needs to understand how to take contact? Or is physical growth the guy needs to spend every weekend in the gym bulking up?
Right. Because if he does, then I prefer him to be in the NCAA.
Agreed.
Because that's one, you get 4 years to make your decision on guys. If the Avs had to make a decision, if Sampo Ranta went to the CHL and they had to make a decision on him after 2 years, would he have gotten a contract? I don't know.
It certainly would be a question, but after this year, I mean,
right. And we keep kicking the can down the road.
We're about to get to that can, I promise.
Yeah. It's just, look, the AHL and once the AHL decided it wanted to be a development league and NHL teams started buying up AHL clubs and started taking it seriously, it changed that league. There's a reason that the AHL is not full of goons running around finishing out their careers punching each other anymore.
Yep.
That used to, not even that long. It was 7 years ago. That was still the AHL.
A decade ago, those dudes were commonplace.
Yeah, there were 4 of them on every team.
Yep.
AHL fourth lines is where you put the Mitch Hurds of the world.
Yep.
And you just waited for those guys to punch their way to the NHL or just keep punching their way through their careers. It was just a different league with different priorities. And now it's not like that. The AHL has changed drastically.
A lot more skill going on there for sure.
Yeah. And the hard part is figuring out when a guy is ready for that challenge.
Yep. It's a fine line sometimes too. It's not that clear a lot of the time. Let's keep moving here. Do we want to talk about Tyler Weiss at all? Because he is having a good year.
Yeah. So Tyler Weiss, the guy that you and I both pretty much dismissed out of hand at the beginning of the season. I don't even think he was on our prospect pyramid because we were like,
I think I put him on. I forgot Kovalenko. I remember.
Yeah. Well, I guess we already talked about Zhravlov a little bit. But.
Yeah. The Russian guys are wait and see when they want to come over at this point.
Yeah. So just to get that out of the way, Zhravlov, Kovalenko, whenever their contracts end, whenever they want to come across for ELCs, they're both ready.
Yep.
Kovalenko, I would drop in the NHL today, though. And Zhravlov, I would not.
Agreed. Zhravlov probably needs another year. Kovalenko, just do it and see what you have.
Yep. 100%, man. There won't be a ton of development there when he gets to the NHL. Yep.
Tyler Weiss, though, 20 points in 23 games so far this year. More importantly, 6 goals and driving more offense as an individual as opposed to being part of a system.
Look, the guy, even when he was at the DP, the offense always flashed.
Yep.
He was always the guy that had electric ability with the puck. He was a great skater, really, really good hands, a great passer, really good vision. Needed to fill out, needed to develop a shot, needed to score some goals, man.
Yep.
And he's done all of those things this year, and he's taken over a leadership role on that team. He's been a very important player for that program.
Do you let him go back for his senior year? Because I think I would.
Easily.
Okay.
Easily. That's no doubt about it. I have no qualms about that one.
Okay. I
Because
agree.
then next year they could realistically be signing Weiss, Corman, Lieberman, Hellison.
You start having conversations about maybe someone like a Foudy at that point.
Oh, they should totally. Yeah, Foudy should totally be part of that group.
Oh yeah, he's 2022. I'm stupid. Definitely Foudy.
Yeah.
Possibly an Ambrosio.
Yeah, I mean, I would
probably going for a third year, but you never know.
I would really put the expectation at waiting on him. Last guy that we should talk about.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about the dude in the title,
Matt Steinberg.
Oh yeah, right, totally. Hasn't played hockey this year at all, essentially.
Guy got hurt blocking a shot and
In
was expected back on January 1st.
Yep.
March 4th, and we have no idea what's going on. So
haven't heard anything.
He's an Av already, baby.
He can't play pro because of his NCAA eligibility. All the junior A leagues are shut down. Can't play major junior when it comes back. He is the new Shamil Shmakov.
Who's also still in the system, right?
Yeah, he's playing in the VHL, but like super sporadically. Nobody knows.
he actually he has 13 games played.
Yeah, but their season has been like 40 games, and that team has played like 6 goaltenders this year. So it's really confusing what's going on.
I'm happy that he's able to play. I mean,
after his broken back stuff last year.
Yeah, like when you think about just from a life perspective, like that's a what, a 21, 22-year-old kid?
Yep.
Who broke his back.
Yep.
And boy,
tough for sure.
Yeah, so I'm just happy that he's been able to play games, and I hope he's all right. And you know, they own his rights for a while.
That's how the Russians go.
Well, he has until June 1st of next year to earn a contract. Not gonna say that there's a lot of confidence there, but best of luck to him. Hopefully it goes well.
I mean, let's be honest. This is probably a guy who, if he's going to make it to the NHL, goes the Pavel Francouz route of playing in the KHL for a while and all of that thing. So you just wish him the best for his career, honestly.
Yeah. To be honest with you, a 916 in the VHL is not particularly impressive.
Goalies put up 930s in that league all the time.
That is a very, very low scoring league where goaltenders, their numbers end up looking great.
Ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah. You look at the top of, just for example, the guy leading that league has a 943 save percentage and a 1.39 goals against. So
is Nils Aman really a prospect? Oman, I guess. Excuse me.
Yeah. Shamil Shmakov, by the way, 31st in the VHL in save percentage at 916.
Yeah. So there you go. Not great, Bob.
Out of 59 goaltenders. The guy with an 875 should probably find something else to do.
Oof. Are we there? Can we get the folks what they want? Is it Christmas time?
I mean, Nils Aman has I think 5 points this year.
5 points in 45 games or something in the SHL.
Look,
yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't know shit about the guy. Still,
I've watched a couple of his games, and I don't. He's a grinder in the SHL. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
He's got good size, and he's a center.
Yep.
And the Avs are hoping in 2 or 3 years he figures out how to score a shitload of points so that they can justify giving him a contract. I guess that's it.
Good luck.
We'll keep an eye on him, but I hope he comes to a dev camp someday so we can see him live and really get a feel for him.
That would be interesting at very least. Have something to say about him.
Yeah. Kind of. I mean, I hope the same for Shamil Shmakov someday.
True, but
just because I want to see a 6'7" goaltender.
Absolute monster.
Yeah, they don't need to sign Ivan Fedotov if they just bring him over.
There you go. Make Eddie happy, just like that. Easy. Okay, for real though.
This is the most exciting breakout for an Avs prospect in a long time. Like, it's one thing when first round picks pop off in leagues and they go crazy, and it's just like whatever, right?
Well,
this is a lot of fun though.
So I think part of what makes this particular breakout so exciting is because everyone could see it. Everyone is like, "Oh, if he just puts it together, it'll be great." Sampo Ranta's putting it together, folks.
Yeah.
25 points in 24 games right now. 15 of those are goals. He's making the NCAA his bitch. I don't know what to tell you.
Minnesota's really good, by the way.
They are.
But also, a big part of that is Sampo Ranta's step forward. Like, Sampo Ranta, when he was drafted, again, it was easy to see the appeal here. Great size, 6'2", 200 pounds. He's a great skater. Gets up and down the ice. Like, does the physical attributes, has a great shot.
Yep.
All of that stuff pops when you watch him play. When you see the good stuff, when you just watch a highlight reel, you're like, Jesus, this is all translatable.
Yep.
This is all high-end stuff. This guy is something else. I mean, you look at the last goal that he scored last weekend, or 2 weeks ago, where he just puts his head down, goes around the defenseman.
5 goals like that this year, by the way.
Puts his head down, goes around the defenseman, cuts hard to the net, and just stuffs it into an empty net because he beat the goaltender.
Yep.
And it's just like, he's figured it out. The light bulb went up. Like, Sampo Ranta has learned, oh, I can do all these things. These guys can't stop me. I'm bigger, I'm stronger, and I'm faster. This is why you let guys go to college for 3 years. They figure these things out. And the ideal for me when you draft a kid in college, and it's not like a Newhook where he would have been signed last year, except the Avs are abnormally stacked in certain areas. It's you draft him, you want him to go 3 years. You want him to physically develop. You want it to take time. But you also want it to be so that when he jumps to the pros, it's not 2 or 3 years in the AHL.
I'm getting word we have a live look at Sampo Ranta this year.
Do it! Just do it!
First of all, hilarious. Second of all, that video is so weird.
It is very strange.
He's a weird guy though. So it's,
part of the ballpark, I guess. Yeah.
Hey, Sam Bennett's a healthy scratch today.
Uh-oh. AJ's eyebrow begins to twitch.
That's right. Sampo Ranta is 100% developed over the last couple of years. My biggest question mark on him draft day was the hockey IQ. He played in straight lines in the USHL.
Let's be honest, it's still a legitimate question. Like,
it has not gone away. The physical development has been great. The development of his game and his confidence has been great. All of these things are encouraging. You'll like all of it. It's all good.
But
he needs to get to the AHL, and the Avs need to give him a top 6 job, and he needs to go and figure something out.
Yep.
The problem with them slow rolling the Kaut and Powers promotions is that now Sampo Ranta and Alex Newhook and Alex Beaucage and Sasha
Matala in front of these guys,
all going to show up at the same time.
Yep. It becomes a log jam at a certain point.
And you can't just be like, oh, well, this guy should get a top 6 job in the AHL so that he can develop properly, because there's 4 other dudes who are already there where you're like, what are we going to do? So I think that it's a bit of a concern right now how he gets used going forward and how the Avs get the most out of him. But you look at Sampo Ranta, and for me, if everything in an ideal universe, he's the guy who replaces Andre Burakovsky in 2 years.
Yeah,
instead of giving Burakovsky $7 million, you'll let Sampo Ranta take that job.
To a T, right? Like, same size, same skating ability, Burakovsky's a fucking elite shooter, but
yeah, Burakovsky's a better shooter, but Sampo's pretty good.
Yep. Role style, very, very similar. You probably get a little bit of a simpler game out of Sampo, maybe a little bit more net front work from a guy like that, which isn't the worst thing in the world for a second liner.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing that he's done a lot of at Minnesota is that he's been in front of the net.
Yep.
You know, he's done a lot of work in the dirty, and a lot of the goals that he scored his first year or two in college were him right around the net. And now he's scoring from all over the place.
Yeah, it's so weird. You talked about it, right? Like, for most players, development is a very windy road. This year, Sampo Ranta's development has been surprisingly linear.
Well, from the moment he was drafted, like, this has played out in pretty much the exact fashion that you wanted.
Yep.
Get an encouraging freshman year. Let him go back for a sophomore year. Step forward in his sophomore year. You're excited about it. We talked about potentially giving him a contract last year.
Yep.
The Avs contemplated giving him a contract last year. Everybody came to the decision, hey, let's do one more year at Minnesota, and we'll see
if you
how
can really
this
do
goes.
the thing. Yeah.
Second in the nation in goal scoring, only behind Cole Caulfield, who arguably shouldn't even be in college hockey this year.
Probably should be playing pro.
So, you know, you're feeling like this has been as easy a development, like as positive a development as you really could have asked.
Yep. It's not very often that a player's progress goes this right. You have a path for him and he just walks it. Like, yeah,
well, and the amazing part is think of it, we're an hour and 17 minutes into today's show. How many of these guys have we talked about today where that's the case?
Yeah, it's not just a throwaway, well, that's a burn pick. There's almost none of that.
Like, but Nick Lieberman,
yep, exactly
exactly the same thing. His third year. The third year in the NCAA is the critical year. That is the big year that you want to you almost say this is the year it either happens or it doesn't. Like, the big senior year breakout, like what Will Butcher had, is more of a rarity than it is commonplace. Usually, if it happens for a guy, it usually if he's a higher end guy, it's early. It happens like right away for a guy like
Alex Newhook. Yeah.
Exactly. but for a guy like Ranta, guys like Lieberman, guys that need that time, those middle round guys who need to get better and take some time and need to grow up physically. The third year is so key, and Ranta has been the ideal model for how this is supposed to go. Now, like, coming into the year, had you told me that he was going to he was going to be second in the nation in goals, I would have been like, okay, I totally believe that.
Yeah, it's within the realm of reality.
Yeah, he's got the physical tools to do any of that. It's can he overcome iffy hockey IQ?
And like, you have to set guidelines here. Like, look, you're never in a million years bringing Ranta into any hockey team to play defense. It's just, you're hoping he gets by for you in that zone, and that's that.
Yep.
It's part of the package, and you have to just accept that.
Yep.
So, is what it is. I see the chat talking a little bit about Justus Annan, and yes, he's had a down year, but the ELC is signed there. The plan is always, what's he going to do in North America next year?
I honestly have kind of just, even if he had a great year, I was going to flush this year. It just doesn't matter.
Irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant.
He's signed his ELC. He's coming across North America next year, no matter what. He'll be in the second year. He's going to compete for a job with the Eagles somewhere. I don't know. Maybe he ends up in the ECHL and everybody gives up on him right away and whatever. I don't know what's going to happen with him. There just isn't a lot to say about Annan's year because it just doesn't. Yep. He's not playing for anything.
Yep.
He's already got the contract secured. He's already got a job lined up in next year with the Eagles. Like, this was like this was like his gap year.
That's exactly what it is.
So this, he was just European vacation finding himself or whatever this year. It's fine. There's just not a lot to say there.
Yep.
We'll start digging in seriously into Annunen next year when he's in North America and his pro career has actually begun.
There you go. So, final thoughts here, AJ. I mean, we're an hour and 20 minutes in, and look, you and I love talking prospects, but legitimately it's just because there's that much quality in the Avalanche organization right now.
Right, and this isn't even us being fanboys or anything. It's just that these guys have broken out.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't think that we would have to talk about Tyler Weiss at all. I thought that the conversation we would have about Tyler Weiss would be like the one we had about Ryder Rolston, where it was like, well, not a lot happened.
Yep.
And instead, just so many guys have taken big steps forward this year. It's been really, really encouraging. And honestly, this was a lost year for Jean-Luc Foudy until the AHL games, and then those have been eye-opening. They might have a serious player there.
Yeah.
I can't stress enough how 18-year-olds in the AHL, first of all, they're just not very common. So the track record is not lengthy, but so many struggles for those guys. And he rolled in. And granted, this is a much weaker version of the AHL than normal. All the guys that are on the Avs taxi squad that would be with the Eagles are also on the taxi squads for the other guys too.
Yeah.
So it's a weaker year all around in the AHL. So there is that to consider. But they might have a dude there. I think I am more excited. The guys who have improved their stock the most for me in this season, obviously Drew Hellison.
Yeah.
Number one.
Look, I was the one who was high on Drew Hellison on this podcast, and this year has been it has exceeded my expectations significantly.
Yeah. So Drew Hellison, Sampo Ranta, Colby Ambrosio. Although it's a little weird, I don't know, freshmen in college, you just never know what you're going to get there.
You get a good year in their freshman year from a 4th-round pick, and you're feeling good about it, right? Keep it simple with that one.
The only guy out of all these guys that we've talked about, the only guys that would push for NHL jobs next year, if they were to sign, obviously Newhook would push somewhere.
Yep.
But the only other guy that I could see would be Kovalenko.
Agreed. I don't see how any of these other guys don't need at least one AHL year right now if they were to sign going into next year.
At least half an AHL season.
Yeah, sure. You can figure out.
You never know what happens, right? Those first 30 or 40 games.
Dude puts up 30 points in 30 games, and you're like, well.
Right. You remember JT Compher's AHL career where the first 10 or 15 games, you're like, oh my God, is he bad? And then he put it all together, and he was rock solid.
Was scoring 2 points a night for 10 straight games, and you're like, okay,
it was no big deal, and you were just like, okay, cool, we're cool. This guy's all right. This guy's ready to rock.
Yep. So yeah, it's certainly an exciting time if you're not into Avs prospects and you're listening to this whole podcast. Props to you. Time to get into Avs prospects at that point.
What's wrong with you?
This was a fun show. We wanted to fit in not a ton of off days for the Avs in the immediate future. So
yeah, and we get asked about prospects almost every day.
True.
Yep. P.S. All of these guys except Alex Newhook are potential trade bait.
Definitely. Yep.
For whatever deal that they make, because we also get asked that all the time. Which guy do you think would be trade bait?
The only one off the table is Newhook. So.
And the only reason Newhook would be on the table is because Jack Eichel's actually on the block.
Oh, yeah. Okay. If you're going to get a guy that's going to play exactly your projected Newhook role, you can give him Newhook at that point, I guess.
Yeah. It's allowed.
On that note, we're going to get out of here with the Colorado XOs. Rugbytown USA is excited to introduce you to our new rugby venture and team, the Colorado XOs. They're currently 1-0, so they've literally never lost in their entire history at this very moment. Jump on it now before they get their first loss. Say you were there for the undefeated team. Excuse me. They have players coming from backgrounds in football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, soccer, and track and field. All these athletes possess the necessary skills to excel at the game of rugby, and it's a bit of an experiment, not unlike the Avs. We call the Avs the grand experiment of pure skating. This is the grand rugby experiment of players that are athletically gifted trying to learn a new sport at a professional level. So jump on it today, placing these former athletes in a full-time rugby training environment. It's a great way to get into the sport. Be sure to check out Colton's 101 pods on the DNVR Rugby podcast. Follow the DNVR Rugby account and join part of the DNVR Rugby family. It's a total blast, bunch of fun. I still only understand half the rules of rugby, but as one of the crazy people in America that doesn't actually like football, rugby is legitimately better. So fight me, you won't. Check out the Colorado Exos today. We're out of here. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, however you consume the podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the video. It does a ton for us over on YouTube. Very much appreciated. We will be back tomorrow, post-game, Friday night. I believe that show will be Evan and I, as AJ gets to do the in-arena stuff as the Avs start their very long homestand. Other than that, I guess that's it. We'll see all of you guys tomorrow night.